The fast. No food, no water, no cigarettes, no music, no lying, no gossip, sunrise to sunset, for 30 days. And over 1 billion people do it voluntarily. Sawm, the fast, is one of the 5 pillars of Islam, made obligatory in 624 CE, 2 years after the Prophet Muhammad's migration to Medina. The Quran instructs it plainly: fast, so that you may attain taqwa, a word that translates roughly as God consciousness, the particular clarity that arrives only when the noise stops. But here's what nobody mentions. The fast is not just the stomach. Technically, a lie breaks the spiritual value of the fast just as surely as a meal does. The tongue, the eyes, the hands, the mind, all of it is included. The body is the easy part. Hunger is just the first door. Every pang is a notification, a small, insistent reminder that you are not in control, that the body is borrowed, and that somewhere, someone is hungry, without the guarantee of anything waiting at sundown. Sawm doesn't make you spiritual. It makes you honest, which might be the same thing. 1 month, 30 sunrises, 1 billion alarms set before dawn, and somehow the hardest part isn't the hunger, it's the thirst. But here's the twist. You can endure every hour of that hunger and still fast completely wrong. Because the fast doesn't begin at sunrise. It begins the night before, in the dark, with a single silent decision nobody will ever see. Niyyah, the invisible prerequisite. In Islamic jurisprudence, niyyah must be made each night before Fajr, the dawn prayer, specifically for the fast of the following day, according to the Hanbali, Maliki, and Shafi'i scholarly traditions. Without it, the act is technically hollow. 2 people can fast identically from the outside, same hunger, same hours, same sundown meal, and one is worshiping while the other is simply dieting. The month knows the difference. What makes niyyah genuinely unsettling is that it cannot be performed, photographed, or delegated. There is no leaderboard, no proof of completion. In a world that has built entire industries around visible devotion, the post, the caption, the aesthetic, Ramadan's most critical act produces nothing external at all. It lives below behavior, in the motivation beneath the motivation, in the reason behind the reason, which means every person in Ramadan has to decide, alone, every single night, whether they actually mean it. The fast begins before sunrise, but it really begins the moment you decide, quietly, in the dark. Why? And then the alarm goes off, and the whole silent architecture of intention collapses into something far more chaotic, far more human, and smelling, somehow, of lentil soup at 4 a.m., Suhoor and Iftar. 2 meals bracket the entire day. One eaten in the gray dark before the world wakes. The other consumed the moment the sun drops below the horizon. And both of them, inexplicably, taste better than anything eaten any other time of year. Suhoor, the pre-dawn meal, is described in hadith recorded in Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim as a blessed meal. Eat it, the Prophet advised, for in it there is blessing. It is quiet and slightly surreal, this meal eaten half asleep with the weight of the day ahead pressing in from all sides. Iftar, the breaking of the fast at Maghrib, is its opposite. Loud, communal, emotionally charged in ways people don't anticipate. A table where estrangements quietly dissolve because the food is there and the day is finally over. But here's what the photographs never capture. The first thing consumed at Iftar is not the feast. It's a date. Small, brown, almost ceremonially plain. Given first before the rice and the soup and the conversation. A fruit, carrying the oldest meaning on the table. And then, after the date, water. Just water. People who fast describe that first sip at Iftar as the single most viscerally appreciated moment in the entire month. Not the meal, the water, which tells you everything the fast was actually teaching. Survival chance, Excellent. Emotional experience. Genuinely hard to explain to someone who hasn't felt it. But Suhoor and Iftar, that's the face of Ramadan that photographs well. What happens between them is where the real levels begin, the 3 tiers. According to the medieval Islamic scholar Al-Ghazali, writing in his Ihya Ulum al-Din, Revival of the Religious Sciences, one of the most influential texts in Islamic intellectual history, there are 3 categories of fasting, stacked in ascending difficulty. The first tier, you don't eat, you don't drink, you meet the legal requirement. This is the floor, not the ceiling. The second tier, you also restrain the tongue from lying, the eyes from what they shouldn't linger on, the hands from what they have no right to take. The body obeys, and the senses follow. The third tier, the fast of the heart, asks you to strip away attachment itself. Ego, status anxiety, the hunger for recognition, the craving to be seen as someone who is doing this correctly. Al-Ghazali writes that this third fast is the fast of the prophets. Almost nobody achieves it. Most Ramadan content, the cooking videos, the decoration guides, the iftar table aesthetics, lives entirely within Tier 1, which Al-Ghazali would gently suggest is a bit like buying running shoes and never leaving the house. 30 days, 3 tiers. The body quits asking for food by day 5. The self never stops asking for everything else. And then, when the table is cleared and the day is finally over, some people don't go to sleep. They go to the mosque. For hours. By choice. Tarawih. After a full day of fasting, some people stand in voluntary night prayer for 2 to 3 hours. Every night. For 30 nights. Not because it's required, but because they want to. Tarawih traces back to the Prophet himself, who prayed these voluntarily, and then, according to Sahih al-Bukhari, stopped leading them in congregation out of concern the community would assume they were obligatory. In mosques with a hafiz, someone who has memorized all 6,236 verses of the Quran, attendees stand and listen to the entire text recited aloud, section by section, across the month. The physical demand alone, on a body that hasn't eaten since dawn, is significant. But the texture of it is harder to quantify. Rows of people in a darkened hall, the air carrying the faint warmth of collective breath, a single voice moving through ancient Arabic in a rhythm that does something to a room full of people who mean it. Something documented even by non-Arabic speakers who've attended open mosque nights and left unable to fully explain what happened. Tarawih is the part of Ramadan that can't be captured mid-act. You're standing in a row, bowing, rising, standing again. It looks like nothing from outside. From inside, people describe it as the closest thing the month offers to genuine silence. Not the absence of sound, but the absence of self-consciousness. 30 nights, 3 hours each. The mosques are full. But even the most devoted Tarawih worshipper is aiming at a moving target. Because the most sacred night of Ramadan has no fixed address. Laylat al-Qadr, the night of power. Mentioned directly in the Quran in Surah al-Qadr. This is the night the Quran began its revelation, described as better than 1,000 months of worship. 1,000 months is 83 years, roughly a full human lifetime. One sincere night of worship on Laylat al-Qadr is described as its equivalent. According to hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim, it falls in one of the odd-numbered nights of the last 10 days of Ramadan, the 21st, 23rd, 25th, 27th, or 29th, with the 27th most commonly cited, though scholars note this is not confirmed. The concealment of the exact date is, in classical scholarship, deliberate. You cannot wait it out. You cannot bookmark it. You can only keep showing up, depleted and fasting, night after night, and hope you're present when it arrives. The divine logic is almost adversarial in its elegance. The most valuable night is hidden inside the most exhausting stretch of the month, arriving when you have the least to give, and asking whether you still mean it anyway. Somewhere in the last 10 nights of Ramadan, a door opens. you won't be told which night. The only strategy is to be awake for all of them. Some people take that instruction literally and disappear from the world entirely. Itikaf. For the last 10 days of Ramadan, some Muslims move into the mosque and don't leave. No phone, no work, no home, just prayer, Quran, and the hunt for one night. Itikaf, spiritual seclusion, is a confirmed prophetic practice documented in Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. The Prophet observed it in the last 10 days of Ramadan every year until his death. The person in itikaf does not leave except for biological necessity. They eat there, sleep on the floor there, worship there, exist there, in a state that has no program, no outcome metrics, no audience. In an age of curated wellness retreats and scheduled mindfulness, itikaf is the anti-aesthetic. There is nothing to show. The mutakif, the person in seclusion, sleeps on stone or carpet, eats simply, and spends days that look, from outside, like absolute stillness. From inside, according to accounts across centuries, it feels like the most clarifying 10 days of the year. Because itikaf's only purpose is the removal of every single layer between the person and whatever they're actually looking for. No role to play, no identity to maintain, no noise. Just the question the whole month has been building toward, finally asked, in a room with no exit. Who are you when there's nothing left to distract you? The people who've done it describe it as the closest thing they've found to peace, which is either something beautiful about the practice or something quietly haunting about everything outside it. But beneath all of it, the fasting, the prayers, the seclusion, the sacred night, there's something the entire month is actually fighting. And it's not hunger. It's not even distraction. It's older than both. The nafs. The real fast in Ramadan is not from food. It's from the thing that makes the food feel necessary in the first place. In Islamic theology and classical Sufi tradition, the nafs refers to the self, specifically the ego, the lower self, the part of the human being that craves, resents, competes, and performs. Classical Islamic psychology, drawing on Quranic references across Surah Yusuf, Al-Qiyamah, and Al-Fajr, and developed extensively by scholars including Al-Ghazali and Ibn Arabi, identifies multiple levels of the nafs, from the nafs al-amara, the commanding self that drives toward gratification, to the nafs al-mutma'inna, the tranquil self, finally at rest. Ramadan, in this framework, is a month-long campaign against the commanding self, against the part of the psyche that uses food, entertainment, social validation, and comfort as armor against genuine self-examination. Strip those things away, day after day, and the nafs has nowhere left to hide. The hunger is a tool, not the point. The body's discomfort is designed to surface something deeper, the restlessness that was always there, the anxiety that food was quietly numbing, the ego that needed constant feeding long before Ramadan arrived. The fast doesn't create these things. It removes the static long enough for you to finally hear them. Ramadan doesn't ask you to be better. It asks you to be honest. And sometimes that's harder. And then there's the person who did all of it. The fasting, the prayers, the intentions, the seclusion, the war against the nafs, and walked away with nothing. The one who fasts and gets nothing. There is a hadith recorded in Sunan ibn Majah that says, "Many a fasting person gets nothing from their fast except hunger and thirst." This is the most haunting sentence in Ramadan. Not because it describes a sinner or someone who failed ritually, but because it describes someone who fasted, who woke before dawn, who endured the hunger, who showed up to the mosque, broke the fast at the right moment, said the right words, and somewhere in the gap between ritual and sincerity was absent the entire time. The month passed over them like weather. Present, then gone. Nothing changed. The terrifying detail is that this hadith does not describe a behavioral failure. It describes an interior one, which means you cannot audit for it from outside, and the person it describes may not even know it was them. This is the entry that reframes everything before it. Every tear, every intention, every night prayer, every hour of seclusion, all of it was architecture designed to prevent exactly this. To ensure that at the end of 30 days, the person standing on the other side is genuinely different from the one who began. The month doesn't grade on attendance. It never did. If you want to see more, click the video on screen now.